What's going on, Art Junkies? Welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Adam Streich. Before we get into the episode, I got a couple quick words from the folks who keep the lights on in the BuzzBox studio. Today's episode of the Art Junkies Podcast is brought to you by Fronius USA. Are you struggling with fume extraction in your welding school or your fab shop? Then check out the new Exento low-vac fume extractor from Fronius USA. I've been using the Exento for over a month now, and this thing is by far the best fume extractor I have ever used. The Exento is ridiculously powerful and captures all weld fumes produced in the welding area. I've used other brands of fume extractors in the past, and none of them have been as effective as the Exento. And it's mobile, making it easy to move anywhere in the shop where I need to capture fumes. Whether I'm doing weld demos at the instructor station or I've got a client doing test welds in the back, I can move the Exento where I need it. One of the best features is the all-metal design. Unlike other brands of fume extractors that use roto-molded plastic housings, the Exento is built to last. For more information on the Exento, head on over to Fronius.com. We're also brought to you by CK Worldwide, the standard in TIG welding. I just purchased 6 more CK torches from my local distributor for my school to set up a pipe welding class. I needed some flex heads with the gas knob on the torch. I could have went with any other brand on the market, but I called my distributor and I specifically asked for CK. He even offered to quote me a similar torch from other companies, but I told him it's not necessary. I only want the CK. I've been using CK torches for years, and they have served me well when it comes to quality, function, and reliability. CK's been in the TIG welding game for over 50 years, innovating torches and accessories for TIG welding. Products like the FlexLock 360, gas saver kits, wedge collets, purge cups, silicon nitride cups, and more. Check out ckworldwide.com today and click the Find a Dealer tab to experience CK and find out for yourselves firsthand why CK is the standard in TIG welding. We're also brought to you by Outlaw Leather, the original manufacturers of custom welding hoods. Outlaw has everything you need for your welding environment. Whether it's in the shop, the field, from the pipeline to the skyline, Outlaw's got you covered. In the market for a custom hood? Shoot them an email, info@outlawleatherllc.com, and they'll help you bring your design to reality. Need a hood fast? Shop their amazing selection of in-stock handmade leather hoods, as well as other PPE, accessories, layout tools, and more at outlawleather.com, and get it shipped right to your home, job site, or your shop. And as a listener of the Art Junkies podcast, Outlaw is going to give you 15% off on all their in-stock leather goods when you use Art Junkies in the discount box at checkout. That's outlawleather.com. All right, you know what time it is. Fire up your machine, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
Thank you for downloading show number 321 of the Art Junkies Podcast.
You're listening to the Art Junkies Podcast, helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
But you got some really cool stuff in your shop. Like, you've got the twin carbon arc welding machine. I've never seen one of those. And when they posted it, I was like, oh, that's atomic hydrogen welding. No, it's not.
No, I saw your guess. You were wrong.
Close. I was definitely wrong. I was close. I was wrong.
This predates that, actually.
Does it really?
But yeah, by about 20 or 30 years.
Oh, damn.
Which I've been trying to figure out how to make an atomic hydrogen welder. I think my gas supplier can get me the gas to weld with it, but I need to make like the fitting and fixture to actually make one work. It's funny because that thing came up on Craigslist years ago, and it popped up on Craigslist for like $50 somewhere.
I was gonna ask because that's not something you're writing a freaking grant for.
No. I saw it pop up. I looked at my wife. I think we were married then. Yeah, we were married. I said, hey, I gotta spend $50. Now it was like a 2-hour drive there and a 2-hour drive back to go buy it.
Worth it.
I threw the dog in the car and took off. I'm like, we'll be back in a couple hours. Like, throw the dog in the truck. Let's go for a ride. Come back. I was like, you bought that? Why did you? That's stupid. Why did you buy that? I'm like, someday I'm going to need it. And so I would bust it out once in a while and show students like, hey, this is where we came from. So, of course, when the boys are swinging through town, you're like, all right, let me show you something you've never seen before. And most of the internet hasn't seen, because the only people that did it in the 60s and 70s. But now you take it and you put it on a brand new Dynasty Well, now I have balance and waveform and pulsing and frequency and hertz and controls that they never dreamed of in the 1800s. You're like, oh, you can use it for brazing and welding, and you can actually. The crazy part is you can lay down a pretty good bead if you get your carbon angles right for whatever your material is, and bend up an old metal coat hanger or something. Use it as your filler, unless you got some RG45 or whatever laying around. You can get a pretty decent bead on a really vintage piece of equipment. So swing by the school. I'll let you play with it.
Yeah, I got to stop up there, man. That looks cool. So I've heard there's like maybe 2 to 3 atomic hydrogen welders, and like one of them's in service. And it's this guy, I can't remember his name. I see him on LinkedIn all the time. But he owns like an antique welding machine museum in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
But he's got an atomic hydrogen welder.
So it's like oxy-fuel welding. It's still around. You got your arguments whether you should teach it or not teach it in various curriculums. I don't know that you need to teach it, but you do need to expose to it. I know what caught me is that years ago, the Wisconsin Public Service, one of their weld tests was a 6G 2-inch, I think it was a 2-inch oxy-fuel weld. And you had to pass it to get hired in, but you never used it again. And it was just to weed out the majority of the applicants, right? Because if you didn't know how to, work that puddle carefully on the way around, you'd fail. And there was some weird, 1900s law that, whatever certain pipe needed to be welded by oxy-fuel welding, because it was once you put something into a code, it's impossible to get it out.
Yeah.
So we have one of our local union halls. In somebody's infinite wisdom, they put RMD uphill. Well, RMD was really not designed as an uphill application, but they put it in the code, and it's on a Q clearance job site, and you're not getting it back out. You're not changing it to being a downhill application. And so it's like, oh, so I get students in like, hey, I'm going to try and hire at union hall. Can I get some practice? I'm like, yeah, here's the test. There's the machine. I'm going to show you how it works. And I'm going to show you how we can use, because they let them, there's a lot of adjustment that's allowed on the, -3, +3, the sharpness and some of the controls. And it's like, well, you can use the machine however you want. Okay. Well, then let's set up some coupons and see what works good for you. I think that's a big problem is people just turn the machines. They use the auto set.
Yep.
Yeah. Which was funny because Drew has been running one of the Petty's been trying out one of the new air packs, the Miller air pack.
Mm-hmm.
That's a $30,000 machine, right? Welder generator all in one. It has an auto set button on it. I don't know anybody that's going to send somebody out in the field that needs an auto set on a $30,000 piece of equipment, but
you'd be surprised.
It's there.
Some people got more money than sense.
That's true. But it's cool to just play with toys and learn things.
That's funny. Like all the machines that come out, I've never had any luck with the auto sets. Maybe I just weld different, but I like dialing it in myself. Maybe because I know how to dial in a machine. And I think the problem with a lot of those preset functions, it's a specific type of wire. So if you run Lincoln or you run Hobart or you run Radnor or, Select, whatever, it's going to run a little bit different on everybody's wire. It's going to be close, but it's not going to be great.
So this is where you got to talk to the weld engineers that are designing to understand what's really going on. Those auto sets are designed for a 2F fillet weld. So
if you do anything other than a 2F.
If you're doing anything other than a 2F fillet weld on that material, it's out of the range that it was dialed in for. And we don't talk about that. We don't talk about duty cycles. You talk about a duty cycle. We fail to talk about the humidity and temperature. And so, yeah, we can have two machines that have a 30% duty cycle, but one's got a 30% duty cycle at 100% humidity at 100 degrees. And the other one's got a 30% duty cycle at 0 degrees and 0 humidity. Well, it's like the flashlight lumens, right? Depending on where I back up
Yeah, how
with my
close I
flashlight.
hold that flashlight.
Oh, mine's really bright if I'm really close to it, but yours is really bright from way back there. Well, you got a better flashlight. So yeah, it's got auto set, but what was the auto set? It's, I feel the same way with all the weld setting apps. Yeah, it's really cool, but what if I've got 035 wire and I don't have 045 wire? Oh, great. Yeah, you're telling me I'm supposed to be on 90-10 gas. I've got 85-15. I've got 95. I've got argon oxygen instead of argon CO2. Well, what does that do? The app didn't tell me that, Oh, it told me I needed a bigger electrode. Well, if you've only got a 100 amp, stick welder, cool. You want me to run a 3/16 7018?
Not happy.
Not going to work on the machine I've got. So what could I do? Well, you can use preheat, and you can peen it, and you can crank that machine up, and you can use smaller diameter and
bevel it a little bit more.
Put a little more bevel on it and make sure it's good and clean. And there's things we can do as workarounds, but none of that gets talked about. And I think, kind of goes full circle that if the instructor doesn't know, the student's not going to know. And then they're going to go in the field and, they might learn from the smartest guy in the shop. If the smartest guy in the shop knows some stuff, but you also have a lot of guys that have, they've been somewhere for 20 years. They don't have 20 years of experience. They have 1 year of experience they've done 20 times. They just, the versatility hasn't been out there. And then as we change alloys and we change fillers and we change gas compositions and everything advances, we still stay with, I just put the welder where the marks were. That was a different machine. Well, yeah, but they were like right about here. That was a different machine.
It was about a third of the way up there, Adam. That's where the paint marker was. It was on like number 4.
It was like right in that area.
Right between 3 and 4. It should work on this one.
No.
Why not?
I worked with a guy that would do that, and I couldn't handle it. I'd walk across the shop. I'd dial his machine back in. Keep welding. Oh, that's welding a lot better. Oh man, that's way better. And you're like, oh, I can't listen to it. And then you'd go back to your section of the shop and you'd be doing work. And the very next day, it's back to sounding like that. You're like, what happened? Well, I put the dials back to where they belong.
Why? It was running great yesterday.
It was you were using a Miller-Matic 200, not the Multimatic 200, not the modern one, the one from 78. We're now on a different machine. That's a Lincoln. It's not the dial spot is not the dial spot anymore. Do you need the edge or the Furic or the TIG wear cups? No, sure. You can do that with a number 5 standard collet buddy. But would it make it easier? Do these things exist? Do wires exist? The one wire I'd like to try running is, have you ran any 040?
No, I get contact tips for the shit all the time, but I've never ordered it.
So I've some of the things I've learned over time, right? Is
or are you talking about tungsten?
No, I'm talking about MIG wire.
MIG wire? Okay, because I know I get 040 diffusers all the time.
Yeah, I get 040 and 020. I did a job that the closest thing I can discuss is that it was basically like welding on the outside of a Yeti cup, without losing vacuum. So you couldn't blow through. You had to weld on the outside of a Yeti cup and hold vacuum. And so I bought, 3 or 4 of these, knockoff versions because I was going to try welding on it, and it's doable. You have to be careful with your control and only weld little sections. But it works out really well. As we look at it, we can cheat and be easier if we turn a pulsar on, turn a background setting on. So then that's the only time I've really used the 020 tungstens is playing with stuff like that, or a turbo that I had to repair. I think I was using 040 on that one, the inside of a turbo housing. I think my next one is getting my certified weld supervisor. And so the readings and the going through the books and doing the calculations and the depositions and the efficiencies and everything that's awesome about 035 and everything that sucks about 045, right? 045 is kind of garbage to short circuit with.
Yeah.
035, we hit a electrical conductivity threshold. Yet everybody's like, oh, we got a shop here that runs. Oh, we run 24 volts and 750 inches a minute. I'm like, why? You at 500 inches a minute, you exceeded the current capacity of the wire. Like, what? Why are we still? Oh, this is what we run. Okay.
You step up to an 045 at that point.
Yeah. We should be stepping up to 045 or even 052. But that's why I want to try that 040. If you go back in history, right, we had great steel in the U.S. And so we could have crappy machines. Our machines weren't quite as good. The rest of the world, because, we won, had crappy steel, but so they had to overcome their crappy steel with good machines. And that's why, everybody goes back and forth on the red-blue argument. You're like, except some of these other machines will blow away what you can do with your red and blue.
You go to Europe, you got like 40 different choices. You come over here, and 3, 4, maybe 4.
Maybe. When you look at what you can do with obviously Fronius or OTC or Kempe, and then you're like, AC/DC machine all in one. I played with one of those in Spain about 8 years ago before they released the 220 here. It was a Miller machine and it was AC/DC compatible. They just hadn't figured out how to do it on this side yet.
What's the holdup? Is it because they run on 50 hertz, we run on 60, or what? Because it seems like or like patent infringement. I don't know, because it seems like a lot of the machines that are over there, they've been doing a lot of things. It's like brand new technology here. They were doing it 10 years ago.
Well, let's take a look back and say, well, if you look at Ford, Chevy, and Dodge, right? Next year, I got 10 more horsepower and 15 more foot-pounds of torque. And when I release my numbers, you release your numbers are just a little bit better. If I come out with all the whiz-bang stuff that I can give you right now, what do I have to offer you
next year
on the next one?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think some of that's the throttling that takes place, and you don't get to see what else is around the world. You look at the videos of the guys in flip-flops and squinting through a piece of cardboard, and the ornate handrails and gates and security bars that they build with that stuff. And then you come over here and it's like, well, I can't make that. I've only got this. That guy had a rim and some wood he sourced, and he's hammer forging this stuff.
This hammer's made out of a rock.
What's your excuse? I don't know. Okay.
Never had to do without. Improvise and adapt and overcome.
Break something and play with it.
That was my childhood. Just break something or take it apart and try and figure out how to put it back together, or break it, figure out how to try to fix it before mom and dad got home. Well,
that explains why you went into the Marine Corps.
Exactly.
I
ran out of shit to break.
Marines, firefighters, and students. It was like that when we got here. You were in a rubber room with a rubber hammer. The hammer is broken and half of it's missing. Nobody came in or out. Where'd it go? I don't know.
It's like that when I got here.
It was like that when I got here. You've been the only one to touch it. I had just today. I had a student. No, I don't know where the stick stinger went. It was on the booth yesterday. You've been the only one in the booth. You were the only one there yesterday. I don't know how that got broken.
Oh yeah, students. I would tell them all the time, like, hey, I'd school circle, like everybody bring it in. Hey, look, this is broke. Okay, it happened. Here's the worst thing that's going to happen. I've got to replace this. Okay, now here's the problem with that. I've got to go get 3 quotes. I've got to find, the most competitive bidder. I've got to submit for a PO. So here's what's going to happen. It's going to take me another 30 days to replace this. You guys should have told me 2 weeks ago that this got broke. So now you're going to have to deal with it for the next month without having it. When you could have just said, hey, I screwed up. And I told him, like, if you break something during regular use, let me know. It's fine. Stuff happens. Things are going to break. Things are going to wear out. But if you're using the grinder as a hammer, or, you're using the vise as a pry bar, or whatever, that's not good. But if it breaks during normal wear and tear, let me know. If you're inquisitive and you're trying to see, is this going to work, and it breaks, or something happens, just let me know. We'll get through it. But don't hide it. Don't throw it in the bottom of the tool crib and wait till we absolutely need it, and then we find out we don't have it.
Or
just tell me. Yeah,
or it's missing.
Just tell me.
Especially in education, right? You're in education. You're a student. You're here to learn. We're going to fail. I want you to fail. I love when you fail.
Yes.
I want to see you fail, but I want you to fail forward. Every time you make a failure, I want it to be forward so that we don't make that same mistake and we make a new mistake. And, being that I get my guys for 2 years, I'm like, I want you to make all the mistakes. There are no stupid questions. Well, yes, there are, because there are stupid questions and there's stupid people. But I want you to ask those stupid questions right now while you're here, not when you get to a job site and you've told your boss how amazing you are and how much you deserve. And then you're like, well, is that a plus or a minus screwdriver? What? Was that the plus or the minus one? Oh, it's the starry one. Oh, okay. All right. Let's ask questions. If we don't know something, you ask a question in class and you got 15 bobbleheads. And then you're like, does anybody actually understand this? No. Can we go over it again? Yes, please.
Yep.
Guys, you're here. Don't ask. This is your time. That's why as an instructor, that's why you're here. I know that you're going to screw stuff up. I know you don't know how to do it or you wouldn't be here. If you already knew how to do it, then go to work.
Yep. Practice and fail here because they're not going to pay you to do that in industry.
Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice just makes better. It's just a slight improvement. Don't get a job. Job's J-O-B, just over broke. Yep. We want a career. A career means we've got room to grow. We have to improve. We have to grow along with our growth. One that I hound on all the time is the 2%. We've got a sign in the shop. It says, do better. Do better. I talk about the 2%. I know, remember the old MFCEO project, Andy Frisella?
Yes.
So he had, and I wish I could find which episode it was on. He had done one about washing cars, and so I use this example because I think it's phenomenal. All right, so you're gonna wash the car, right? So we get out the bucket and the sponge and the hose, and we get the car out in the driveway, and we spray down the car, and we fill up the bucket with water, and we put the sponge in the car, and we wipe down the car, and then we hose off the car, and then it looks worse than when we started because we didn't put soap in the bucket. The act of putting the soap in the bucket was 2%. If you put 2% in, you stand out so much to everyone around you. If you lay down a MIG weld, grab your file and knock off a couple of those BBs. If you're stick welding, knock your slag off. If you're TIG welding, and it looks like garbage, dry wash over it. I just did a bunch of my guys. So one of our final exit tests is they take 4 weld tests in 4 hours. MIG, TIG, stick, flux core, all vertical up. You got 4 hours, go. Probably my biggest two pet peeves is when people don't answer a question in class, don't put an answer down on the test, and not fill a plate. You have a run on and run off tab. It's there for a reason. It's not there to look pretty.
Use those. Everybody
use it.
They're like, I don't need that. I don't want to do a start and stop.
Well, I'm gonna start where you're cutting that off anyways. No, that's part of the plate. It's actually being expected. Oh, if you didn't fill the full section of the plate, if you drove 1,000 miles and I'm issuing 100 weld tests, anybody that didn't fill the top and the bottom of the plate, I'm throwing in the garbage. I don't care how good you are. Your job was to fill the plate. You didn't fill the plate. Whether it was a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, an inch and a half, you had one task. And with every welding process, it's so easy to dab a little bit, at the top and the bottom. Fill it up. You didn't fill the plate. It's a fail. Well, but my weld looks good. Well, I'm sure it does. You didn't do your job.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So if you think about it, like most of your welds with backing, your groove welds with backing, it replicates a connection in the field, a structural connection with backing in the field. So if I've got 6 inches of material there, I need at least minimum of 6-inch weld, or 7-inch material. I need 7 inches minimum weld. They're like, oh yeah, but the first and last inch, they don't get inspected. The hell they don't. The code says you visually inspect the entire portion. Those portions get disregarded or discarded when you go to do the cut and bend. I just had Scott Wachowski on here. We were talking about the same thing. And people, I don't know where this misconception come from. Probably because welders like pictures, and that's what's shown in the picture. However, if you look in the previous clause, it shows you for qualification, visual inspection of the entire sample, not what's discarded when it comes to the bend test. So, use that run on and run off tab. Everybody wants to cheat. And I tell people, especially now that I'm at ATF, when they come through the door, I'm not going to tell you how to take this test. I'm not going to tell you how to pass this test. Here's what I'm looking for. However, one thing I'm going to recommend to you is use the entire length of the run on and run off tab. They are there for your benefit. If you start right here at the beginning where the weld starts and you stop right here where the weld ends, I guarantee you're good. By the time you get to the cap, you're going to be low at the start and you're going to be high at the top, or, high at the termination.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, yeah, I got it. No problem. And what do? They start the weld right at the beginning of the groove and they stop it just before the end. And it's like, no, bud, you're too low at the bottom and you're too high at the top. Well, what do you mean? Like I said at the beginning of the test, you can't be below flush and you can't be above 1/8 of an inch. And here we are at the beginning of the plate. You're below flush, meaning you negative. We're measuring in negative increments now. And at the top, we're exceeding 1/8 of an inch. You want me to tell you how to prevent that the next time? Use the run on and run off tab that I told you to use before we started the test.
And you can schedule your next test for next week.
Exactly. Can I get a discount? That's not how it works.
You took a test. I'd have been happy to answer any questions in the middle of your test. Hey, you got a question? That's what I'm here for. I'm here to answer your questions. But you got to ask them.
Yep.
Follow direct. And that all ties back to as we talked about before we got on here. The LOP being the most common discontinuity defect. And that's not lack of penetration, that's lack of pride. You took no pride in your craftsmanship. We can see it. If you know it's wrong, fix it. Oh, it's, I hate hearing it's good enough, looks good from my house.
Yep. Good enough for government work.
I was going to caulk that anyways. We're just going to caulk that.
Good enough for the girls I date.
Those are the same people that get upset when somebody else comes to do work and does a half-assed job at it. Well, it was you were fine doing it for somebody else. Well, why should you get upset that they 1/4 inch gap in your trim? No big deal. It'll be fine. Looks good from my house.
Yep.
Take pride in your craft. I mean, I think that's like probably growing up, coming up through the trade in machine shop work is you were working on machine shop tolerance. You were working on machinist drawings. So you had to add material where they were going to subtract it to even weld it. You didn't get a separate weld drawing. You saw a check mark and you're like, oh, what's that check mark? But that's a machine symbol. Oh, okay. What does that mean? That means add an 1/8 inch of material because they're going to cut off an 1/8 inch material. Oh, now you got to figure out your cut list or your bill of materials and add material everywhere that they needed to have one. So when I was giving weld tests there for new guys coming in, nobody had ever seen that kind of stuff. That was totally off the wall. Oh, I've been welding for 20 years. Okay, cool. Here, build this little part, tack it all up first, and then come get me. Oh, it's all welded out. All of it's wrong because you didn't account for the fact that they're going to machine that off. Thanks for coming in. What? you failed. Well, welds look good. Yeah, but they're in the wrong spot. And so good looking welds in the wrong spot is equally as useless as a wrong part.
Yep.
Oh, well, you made scrap. And had you tacked it up where we could have fixed it, okay, you've never worked on these prints. I understand. Ask the question. That pride and craft, probably because the guys I work with as well, even, doing the side hustle and stuff, is we don't do that. That's, if it's wrong, even if you have to rebuild it's going to take you another day and you're going to have to rebuild all of it, but it's going to be right when it leaves.
Yeah.
We're not accepting that.
It's not wrong.
We're not sending that.
So and again, inspect it before the inspector gets there, or inspect it before it leaves the shop. Because while you still have control of it, it's not wrong. It's not wrong until you turn it over.
It hasn't left your bench yet. It's still yours. You still own it.
Yeah. I've got a buddy that gives me shit all the time. He's like, come on, we're not building a rocket ship, or, come on, it's not a Rolex. It's like, I don't know how to do things any other way than to do it right. It's a curse. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's a benefit that a lot of people don't have. Maybe it's like a high performance habit. But like my mentality is how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if I get into the habit of half-assing this because I can get away with it, well, I'm going to start half-assing everything else.
We didn't really need to grind that mill scale, did we? I don't need to grind mill scale. It'll turn it up 5. It'll burn it. Burn it out.
Dude,
Turn it up 5.
everything that I do. I screwed up a part today and I had to do a full pin weld all the way around. What did I do? Clean the mill scale outside, clean the mill scale inside, put a proper bevel on it, set the proper spacing, tack it all up, made sure the fit up was good, don't have any high-low, weld it out. And you know what? It turned out good. And I didn't have to rework anything. It's amazing.
We never have time to do it right, but we've always got time to do it twice.
Yep. I worked for a company and that was literally their motto, or at least that was the motto that I gave them. I'd go around the job site and be like, "Yep, it's done right it's done so nice because we do it twice." Like everything we touch, it's like, why don't we take the time to do it right the first time? If you got time for rework, you got 60% more time if you did it right.
Well, we don't have time to remove that mill scale. You can't wipe the oil off that. We ain't got time for that. But you have time to chip all the BBs off and try and grind out undercut later. Like, if you would have given me 5 minutes then, it would save you 15 now. But stepping over dollars to pick up dimes.
Yep. Or switching over to spray transfer. There's a thought. Oh, we've got a problem with weld spatter. Cool. Switch over to spray.
But why don't we do something different? Well, that's how we've always done it.
Yeah, I had a guy tell me, he's like, "Well, we don't want to have 2 different bottles around the shop because the welders get them mixed up." And I was like, "You realize they label the bottles, right? And if you switch over to 8515, you can still run your flux core and you can get into a spray transfer. And then you don't have to worry. Then you don't have to worry about your welders getting anything mixed up because you still only have one bottle. But you can have your hardwire guys over here running spray, and you can have your flux core guys over here running flux core gas shielded.
Sidewalk chalk's pretty cheap. You can just color all the bottles.
Exactly.
Color on the bottles. It'll wash off in the rain.
Like there's a label right on the front of the freaking bottle. It tells you exactly what's in the bottle.
Yeah, but it'll change the settings, and I don't know how to change settings because all I've ever ran is that. Oh, spend some time dialing in your machine.
Yeah, that's the one thing that kind of messed me up. Like, I'm a huge Lincoln fan, but they got rid of the digital print version of the C1.10 catalog.
Yeah.
Because inside of my Milwaukee toolbox that I towed around everywhere, I used to carry 3 or 4 of those books in there. Because every time I go on site to test a welder or develop a procedure, I'd talk to the welders, and most of them are genuinely interested in learning how to set up their equipment properly.
Doing better.
So I was like, here, have a copy of this C110 manual. Well, now I got to tell them to download it, but like all that information's in there. And it doesn't matter if you're running ESOB wire, Hobart wire, Lincoln wire, like all these settings, they're relatively similar.
They'll get you close. They'll get you in a ballpark.
It's going to get you pretty close. But now that you understand what wire feed speed and voltage and amperage and all that stuff does, you can dial yourself in now.
I remember years ago, one of my classmates went to take a weld test somewhere, and he botched his weld test when we were students. And the guy giving him the test was like, "Yeah, no, you don't get any scrap material. I don't let you practice. You're here to weld. You're gonna be a welder. You should be able to set your machine in 2 tacks." And he came back and he's like, "Oh man, 2 tacks." And I'm like, "Oh wow," So as a class, we're all like, "Oh, holy cow!" And you're like, "Wait." As you progress, you went, "Yeah, actually, you should be able to set up a machine in 2 tacks. Mm-hmm. You should be able to walk in and go, well, wire feed and voltage should be about here-ish match, somewhere to as a starting point. And if you do your tack and pull away and it gets better, well, you need some more voltage. And if you push closer and it gets better, you need less voltage. Okay, understanding how electricity works, at least a little bit. Okay, we should, spin the dials till they're about there, and I should probably win with a pretty decent weld.
At least get close on the first tack.
Yeah. The second tack is just a final dial it in, but you got to start by walking into that with a pretty good idea what you're doing.
Now, because you're an instructor, how long have you been teaching?
10 years. About 10 years now.
Okay.
Just over 10 years.
So because you're an instructor, do you ever intentionally sabotage your students' machines?
All the time.
Are you that guy?
I'm that guy.
Okay.
Oh, I'm an
that
asshole,
guy.
dude.
I'm that guy too.
You go. I see you go take your cell phone to go screw around. If you have been gone for more than about 5 minutes to go get something to water, and even if you've only been gone for 5 minutes, I'm probably swapping your polarity, turning your gas off, taking your contact tip out,
Just
cranking your
loosen
wire feet.
just loosen the contact tip.
Loosen
That'll
that.
get them.
My favorite is to like pull it out just a little bit, so where the solenoid's feeding into the feeder,
Mhm.
it's like it looks close, but you know, because everybody's going to drag their machine around, because obviously we pull our machine by our whip. It's
That's how you move the machine. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And so, you know, you pull it out just a little bit where like it welds pretty good most of the time, but every time you hit the trigger, it sucks a little. Or I'll turn on your trigger hold, or I'll turn on a crater fill. I'll crank your pre-flow up.
I was going to say pre-flow.
Pull the trigger, pre-flow, you know, I don't want, it's not working. I hear the gas. But that's twofold, you know. Yeah, everybody's like, oh, he's just messing with me. You're gonna have to troubleshoot your machine. That's you're walking out into industry as a degreed welder now. I expect you to know more. I expect everybody to come to you to answer their questions. So when they are like, hey, I'm having a problem with my machine, well, let me come take a look at it. Oh yeah. Well, your ground clamp is hooked up, you know, your work lead is hooked up over here, which is clamped to a bolt, which is through a nut, which is clamped to a steel table, which is clamped to an arm, which is on a sliding piece of another arm, which is then way over here to where your test plate is. And you're getting arc flow. Huh? You don't say. One that I've done that it works really well is to make one of the students like the shop foreman. And you're like, hey, go see, you know, hey guys, today Jason's the shop foreman. We got a question. Go see Jason before you come to me. Because now it forces, you know, you learn so much better when you got to teach it to somebody else.
Yes.
I know you've talked about this numerous times, right? You know, I know a lot about welding. Oh man, I'm teaching welding class. I don't want to look like an idiot in front of class. I got to learn some stuff. I got to learn more stuff. Man, there's some good stuff in this old book. One of them that we always teach is we teach a pattern development course. Nobody knows how to do triangulation and squared around transitions and parallel lines anymore. Well, man, I can do better than your pipe fitter's black book if I do a little parallel line on a graph paper. Oh, look, I traced it, and now I can use it again and again and again instead of the soapstoning. You know, yeah, you got to teach both methods. And then of course we teach it on I teach it on a computer. Here's how you do it in AutoCAD or SolidWorks, or use one of these computer programs that'll generate it for you. But if you don't, I don't have a plotter in my garage, so I can't make a wraparound for an 8-inch or 10-inch pipe. Oh, I can't just print it on the computer. I need to actually know how to do some of this stuff.
Poster board, tape measure, pencil,
so
scissors.
You know, screwing with their equipment, screwing with their machines. You know, you're still doing it in a safe and environment, but it is a learning environment, and you're here to learn. My favorite is when they leave beautiful, clean plates. I love welding. Everything about, like, I'm passionate about welding. I'm passionate about teaching welding. I'm passionate about our industry. But if you leave me a pair of clean plates, lay around the shop,
they prepped, dude, I stepped away.
I am welding that shit up. Hey, I left some plates here like 3 days ago. Yeah, thanks. That was really cool. I got to run this and this. What? What do you mean? You know, kind of full circle, right? When you become a teacher, and this is one of the downfalls. And like at first when I got into teaching, I had been in industry. I was welding, 50, 60 hours a week all the time. And then you got to teaching and you ran 1-inch beads. At about 4 months in, I'm going, my skills are slipping.
You start getting the jitters.
I need to weld more. Well, obviously then, doing side hustle and stuff and little repairs here and there and helping your buddies out. You're off June, July. Why are you going to teaching? June, July, and August, right? Well, I mean, what am I going to do June, July, and August? Well, I'm going to go weld for somebody, either as a subcontractor or doing your own thing or whatever you're working on. Like, great way to keep up on your skills. You leave a plate lay around, I'm welding it because I need to keep up on my skills too. I love when they do all the grinding for me. That's fantastic.
I've never done that, but no, that now that you say that, that's, oh yeah, I should have.
Oh, you were missing now it's a little harder to do, right, when they're paying for their 1 week class to go in and screw with them, unless it's somebody that.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't do it at the program I'm running now, but like I know they used to, like my students when I was teaching full time at the college.
Yeah,
they'd leave plates, in their unlocked lockers, and like as a Marine, anything that if it's unsecure, it's mine. There's no thieves in the Marine Corps. There's this one guy running around trying to get all his shit back.
It's been requisitioned.
Exactly. I should have went in there and like acquired that.
Oh, well, yeah, sometimes you even put it back where it was. It's just all
Fully welded out.
Yeah,
and then wait till they turn it in as their work.
I've had a few of those, and then you have to talk about academic dishonesty policies.
Oh yeah.
This is the same as having ChatGPT write your paper for you. That's not your weld. Everybody's weld is their signature, and any instructor that's worth their weight can pretty much tell what everybody's weld looks like in the class. 2 or 3 weeks in, I know what everybody's weld's going to look like. So when somebody shows you a weld and then they throw it in the scrap and another kid brings it back, 10 minutes later, it's like, I got this welded. How come his name's on it? What? His name's not on it. Yeah, I actually wrote his name on it, or I stamped it in the side, or I made a mark on it. That's not yours. Oh, I couldn't find mine. Okay, so if you can't find yours, you don't turn in somebody else's work. Not what we're going to do again. This one time we're going to have an education. I'm going to enlighten you. We're never going to have this conversation again. Sometimes they need to find Jesus, and you just have to help them on that path.
Right. I had one student that like, he was not good. And so we had a conversation about like, you need to spend more time in the booth and less time in the bathroom. Like he'd go to the bathroom for 45 minutes at a clip. And it's not like he had like ulcerative colitis or, diverticulitis or any of that. He had a problem with his cell phone. So all of a sudden we go past 3G and he's just like sucking ass. So we get into 4G and all of a sudden it's just turning out beautiful. Like, I mean, he's just slag peel every time. He's got a mound of slag in his booth, all these little scorpion tails lined up and everything. All of his welds are perfect. And I was like, man, let me go in there and watch you run one. I want to see what you're doing. Like you've really got it together. So he puts it up there. He can't even get the rod lit. He's just sticking. He's like, well, give me a couple minutes. Like let me figure out what's going on here, and I'll come back and get you when things are right. And I said, all right, no problem. So I walk out of his booth, go check on the guy next to him. I hear some welding going on. I was like, oh, he's got it going on. You've done this probably a million times. Every welding instructor has. You sneak in on your students while they're welding. Yeah. Well, he's welding everything out flat.
Oh.
So I was like, okay. So I peek in his booth. I see he's welding flat. And then I walk back next door, to the booth right next to it. And he puts his piece back up. And then he comes and gets me. He's like, yeah, he's pointing at it. He's like, now it's in the 4F position. He's like, yeah, see, I got the machine dialed in. I was like, I literally just walked over here and watched you weld that flat. So we had the same come to Jesus conversation. And I was like, you're going to get it together or you're going to get gone. And unfortunately, he chose to get gone.
That's okay. But that was a choice that they got to make.
Yep.
You got to be careful when you pop into the booths. Like, that's a conversation you have to have ahead of time, and you have to talk about being touchy-feely. We're going to hold hands. We're going to get touchy. We're going to be close. We're going to be intimate. If that's a problem, I did have one of my guys had some PTSD.
Yep. And
he was like, dude, don't kick the bottom of my table or scare me because I'll lose it on you. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Know well ahead of time. I've had to pick tungsten out of my arm. Put up in the kid's booth. He's TIG welding, and he stops and he swings his tungsten down and buries it into my arm.
Ooh.
And, it sizzles through. And so he's sitting there looking at it. Now I'm sitting there with him, and he doesn't realize that his torch is still like
in your arm.
And I'm like, yeah, it's a really nice looking weld. Hey, would you mind taking your tungsten out of my arm though? He looks at me. He's like, oh, I'm really sorry. And you're like, I mean, we talked about other faculty in different disciplines. We're the only ones that have as high of a danger because you have incompetence or not incompetence in this. Incompetence is the wrong word, but it's incompetence, right? They don't know.
Ignorant.
And they don't know that they don't know.
Right.
And so you're everything around you is hot, heavy, sharp. You know, of course you're going to end up with a MIG wire jammed into your neck because some kid's like, doesn't really know what he's doing. And he goes like this. And then you're like, thanks, bud.
Yeah.
You know, let's try and not do that again.
Well, I mean, the benefit to that is it's hot when it enters, so it cauterizes on the exit.
Exactly.
I did that one time. I was doing a 6G demo with TIG. I get done welding the root pass, and I was like, all right, you know, so now I want to push this tungsten a little bit further. And like a dumbass, because I'm so wrapped up in teaching him like the technical information and the fundamentals, I just loosen up the cap and like, you know, on like a 17 gas cooled torch, that collet sticks a little bit. So I loosen up the back cap. I go to push the tungsten in with my finger, but gloved finger, of course. And that tungsten was bound up in that collet, burned right through my glove, right into the tip of my finger, probably about a 1/4 inch before I realized what was happening. And then I yanked it back out and I looked right at him and I said, don't ever do that. But it literally burnt on its way out.
But sometimes you need to do that. So
yeah. Oh yeah. I learned too.
You know, that brings up a safety thing, right? So last summer I got credentialed to do the first aid, CPR, AEDs, basic life support, and stop the bleed training, so that I could be a trainer. I've already had all those trainings years ago, but I wanted to become a trainer for it. And it was like, you're going through the trainings and you're doing it at, like, you know, the hospital. Like, why are you here? And I said, well, you guys hit the emergency call button, and in 30 seconds, you've got 4 nurses and 3 doctors in the room. If you're out walking iron or you're out on a job site, there's not a road. There's not an elevator. The building's not built yet.
Not built yet, yeah. It doesn't even have an address.
You know, I mean, I use our lab as an example. The security is upstairs on the second floor on the other side of the building. Well, if I cut my fingers off in the saw, it's going to take you 5 minutes to walk there and back for them to be like, oh, you cut your fingers off. I should go get my tourniquet in the first aid kit back in my office.
On the second floor on the other side of the building.
You know, you've ran out of Capri Sun. You know, the juice that's supposed to be inside is now outside. You know, so that's one of them that I've pushed with the students, and I've offered the classes, and it's amazing to see students turn around and go out and buy, you know, tourniquets and like, okay, hey, I don't need to be an expert at this, but I at least have to stop the stuff that's supposed to be inside from coming outside at a bare minimum. You know, bare minimum, stop the bleeding. We'll figure it out from there. You know, the ambulance is only 10 minutes away, and it's going to take them another 10 minutes to get through the muddy field to get over here. Or, you know, a lot of the job sites you're on, you're on a job site and half the time you're alone. Well, how are you going to keep yourself calm and rational? Or if you're not good with blood, which I know a lot of people are not, know that and don't become a second victim. Don't make the problem worse. Oh, I'm not good with blood. Get out of here. I mean, I don't want one of my kids put his finger in the iron worker and split his middle finger into 2 down to the second knuckle. You know, and he put his hand behind where the guard is supposed to be, and the plate flipped up and squished his finger and popped it apart. And he walks over. He's bleeding. And walks to the door. Goes, Adam, yo. You know. And I look up, and he's going ghost white. And it's like, grab a chair, get the chair underneath him before he tips over. Dude, you're leaving a blood trail through the shop. My first reaction, of course, is,
now I got to mop this up.
Oh, paperwork. No, it's not even the mop. It's paperwork. Now, you know, they got to do a report. You know, he got over to the hospital, and they're like, oh, man, who did your trauma care? Oh, my welding instructor. They saved his finger. They bandaged it all back up. Nowadays, it's got like his nails a little twisted. You'd never know that it happened. But just being ready for those situations, because we don't plan for them. They're just here, and they're here right now.
Yeah. I used to carry a tourniquet in the quick clot in my lunchbox when I was doing ironwork, just because shit goes sideways pretty quick.
Right now.
Yeah.
And
it's not always you.
It might be somebody else.
Exactly. It's not always you that's going to hurt yourself. It's usually your buddy.
Or the apprentice, or some kid that, you know, he's just, usually it's somebody that's really trying really hard.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, I want to be really good.
Trying to keep up.
You're swinging around, you're craning in some 3 or 4 inch plate that's 4x8 pieces of 4-inch plate just to make a machine base, and some kid puts his fingers underneath it, and you turn around and smack him in the chest, and it's like, that strap is moving and you're not stopping it. Oh, why'd you hit me so hard? Because I needed your fingers out of there. And as soon as I hit you in the chest so hard, your fingers slid backwards and that plate dropped. And that's why, because you wouldn't have fingers anymore.
Yep.
Oh, that makes sense. And it wasn't like they were trying to do something dumb. They were really trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
They didn't know.
It just happens.
Oops, poop occurs.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by Everlast Welders. Everlast carries a machine for every budget and skill level, and right now, Everlast still has their awesome bundle packs going on. Now's your chance to save big with items like the Power Plasma 62i, which comes with the PTM 60 CNC torch for mechanized cutting. You can add the torch to a CNC machine, a track torch, or a pipe roller for beveling. Check out this awesome deal and more right now at everlastwelders.com. And as always, if you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal, just type in Arc Junkies in the comment section before checking out and get that free Nova foot pedal and TIG torch upgrade. Everlast Welders. Weld mean, weld green. Now let's get back to the show. That's the thing that happens on a lot of job sites, though, especially with so many people leaving the industry. That experience of risk, that's also leaving. And that's a factor that not a lot of people think about, is the risk associated with some of the things that we do. Obviously, if you're welding sanitary pipe in an enclosed environment, in a completely sanitary area, not a whole lot of risk. But if you're doing structural steel ironwork, you're doing pipe welding, you're doing, weld heads or well heads or any of that stuff, like, things can get Western really quick. And if you don't have that experience on there, you're focused on getting the job done, and you don't have that situational awareness factor. You're not paying attention to your environment, especially, on a lot of different job sites when you have other disciplines working in that area. HVAC guys are in there. Yeah, the plumbers are in there. The electricians are in there. Like, I had a mag drill crush my hand and luckily it wasn't too bad. But I mean, a mag drill weighs a significant amount of weight. Yeah. I had one fall from about 24 inches and land right across my wrist because I'm actively engaged in drilling out some holes. And some guy downstairs, he decided he needed to plug in his DeWalt charger to charge up his cordless drill, and screw my extension cord. That's just in the way. It's probably hooked up to a microwave anyway. Let me just unplug this, and But had I had some other journeyman around there that tells me, hey, put like a twisty tie on there with a name tag. This is do not unplug, connected to mag drill or whatever. That that could have saved me an injury. But you're losing that experience. So being able to have that situational awareness, pay attention to your surroundings. A lot of people are just focused on the work in front of them and not their environment.
Everything's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
You even said, stainless tubing. Well, if you're doing sanitary stainless, that's thin stainless. That's playing with razor blades all day long.
Yeah.
One of those slide wrong and just, catch you just in the right spot at the wrong time. And it's obviously something that doesn't really get talked about is the safety side of it as well, where, the safety guys, if you can't weld worth a shit and you can't fit, you became the inspector. If you can't do any of that, you became the instructor. And if you can't do any of that, then you became the safety guy, right?
There you go.
It's the ongoing joke, but they're onto something. But there's also times where you're like, I understand. Do you want this done? Or do you want it done safely? Oh, well, no, you probably shouldn't be hanging out of the basket 70 feet in the air, not tied off to anything. That's not safe. Let's not do that. This other thing over here, did I really need cut 5 level gloves on to tickled with? I don't think so. I can't pick up wire.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. But I mean, that's all things you learn through experience. Yeah. And you said your program's what, 2 years?
2 years.
even so the program I taught at most, if they took welding 1 and 2, it was 44 weeks. You're teaching a 2-year program. It's still not enough time to prepare them for everything they're going to encounter on the job site. Like, they're pretty decent welders by the time they graduate our programs. They know how to dial in the machine. They know how to prep their material. Like, I used to have students welding off of ladders with a harness in their welding booth, even though they weren't 6 foot above the ground. But like we talked about earlier, you got to make them uncomfortable.
Experience.
But there's only so much you can do to prepare them for the job site. That's the hard part. That's you got to go out and get that experience. You need that slap in the face sometimes. And
they always get to graduation.
Yeah.
This should be another 2 years. This needs to be a longer program. Can we have another 2 years? No, we can't. We've dusted the surface of it. We've given you your 30,000 feet. Now it's time for you to go out and, make a bunch of mistakes and learn. Try it, learn something, just like the CWI. It was just a license to learn. No, you weren't ready to sign off on a building because you passed your test. You are ready to be mentored by somebody else, can ask a lot more questions. You open up a code book and you're like, well, I don't really have a good answer for that. Even when you find the answer, you're like, still don't like my answer.
Yep.
Let me call somebody else.
Yep.
Let me dial into that network you got and see who else might have a different interpretation.
Yeah. Or check the footnote.
And the subscript that took you to actually subsection B in chapter 7, even though you were working in chapter 3, I need you to go back to, that actually took you to 9. When that section's 9 took you back to section 3, and I still don't have an answer, but I'm more confused than I started.
Yeah. That's like, I've been doing a lot of work in D13 lately and B21, and the amount of footnotes, and this takes you over to there, and this is kind of vague, but it sends you over to here. Like 3 sends you to 6, 6 sends you to 4. It's like, man, why can't we just have just a script of yes, no, yes, no, yes, no.
Yeah. And then it refers back to a different code book that you got to go look at to go, well, what's the interpretation from that code book? So I understand what they were trying to write in this code book.
Now I need to buy another code book.
Is there a free PDF somewhere? No, there's not. Oh,
no, there's not.
All right, order another one.
Yep. So now what type of work do you do? I mean, because you have your CWI, did you just get that because you could, or do you do additional work outside of education with your CWI?
I do some additional work. I use it a lot with students, a lot of credibility in industry. Some of the local guys that either need, it's weird how, because nobody really knows what that means, they'll incorporate something in paperwork that's like, oh, an inspector has to look at this, or weld mapping has to be done by an inspector, or we need there's not even a code weld, but they just want to see a stamp on it. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, and so, my buddies that own their own shops around here, if they need a cert by Monday, I get you your cert by Monday. I got the code book sitting here. Let's go take care of it. If it's hey, I got a consulting for a company, like, hey, what does this look like? Well, everybody's my least favorite. Are you going to be certified? Are you a certified welder? I kind of want to, I always joke about doing it with nursing, but I almost want to do it the very first day of welding class, is set everybody up on dual shield, 1F with a rail to run the gun, set the rail, have every, perfect condition, stand over their shoulder, coach them through it, slow down, and have almost how the Flame Tech track torch has the gear drive in it. Like, all right,
you can only go
the
so
exact
fast.
Right speed. Cool. You're a certified welder. Congratulations. You have a 1F cert. Now you can take that, roll it up, and wipe with it.
Yep.
That's what it's good. I know the shops around here that do code work, and people show up out of school. I got my certs.
I'm a certified welder.
Here's your plates.
In one process and maybe 2 to 3 positions.
Well, we want to get our guys certified in what? On what? With what?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want to change that? Oh, you also want to do that material? Oh,
can't do that.
Doesn't work. We can't do that. Whoa. There's not a one code for every. I thought D11. We're doing a lot of stainless, so we want a D11 cert.
Yeah, I've had that.
No, you don't.
That's not going to work.
That's not going to help you get where you're trying to. No, I'm pretty sure it is. Well, you heard somebody say that one time, so at least you got the language. Wrong code book. And so I use it for that. I use it for, helping out the guys when some paperwork needs hey, come over and look at this and put a stamp on it. You're like, you go over, you do your inspection, does it meet the size? Does it meet the criteria? Does it meet the code? Is it a qualification? That especially with all the local guys that I work with, I'm like, don't ever turn down work because you don't have the cert. Like, bid the work and we can get you a certification. Like, if I'll order a 1.5 code book and we'll, hey, this was several years ago. One of the guys like, I need a bridge cert. I'm like, okay, I'll order the 1.5 and we'll go through it and we'll write the procedure and we'll do the, the paperwork. And you did everything you needed to do. And they showed up and it was really just that somebody else wanted to go, okay, somebody that passed the test that now supposedly knows what they're looking at, put a stamp on it.
Yep. We've covered our ass.
Yeah. And that's mostly what it is. Some of the government work, Department of Transportation type stuff, like that's a pedestrian bridge. Well, it still says bridge, so that's got to be a bridge cert. Well, yep, we're gonna have to do that. You're welding on a support in at an Air Force base. Well, you got to have a 4F cert. Why? Well, you got to have a 4F. So that's what the guy wants to see. Okay, I guess we'll do a 4F cert then. Hey guys, come take this test, run these. It was a single pass 3/16 4F. All right, but guess what? Now you got another cert and you're the on-call CWI.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just to go to the shop and shake hands with the people that are on the tour. Hey, we want to bid some work and we got an in-house CWI. Hey, swing by. I need you to be here from 9 to 11. I'll buy you lunch after they leave. But that's a lot of what I've been doing with it. I've got, obviously as an inspector, you have people constantly like, hey, you should probably quit the teaching stuff, make a lot more money over here. This fall I had the entire non-destructive crew from TVA come in. And they start talking about being there for a while and having their level 3s and stuff. And the money you can make is like, ooh, God, this teaching is kind of, wait, you want me to go where and inspect for how long? You're going to pay me what? Okay. Maybe I could. You want a part-time guy? Could I just do a part-time? No, I got to have him full-time.
How about like June through July?
Yeah. I was just asked somebody that Tuesday night at our dinner. They're looking, oh man, hey, do you know any more CWIs? It's like, no, there's not. I mean, I think since 74, 75, since they started doing the CWI, I think there's been a little over 100,000 that have passed.
Yeah.
This was an argument I was making with our administration is that no, I don't need a PhD. They wanted me to get a PhD in weld engineering. I'm like, I'm happy to get it. I'm not going to stay at a community college if I get my PhD. And if you pay for me to, go out to Ohio State or Colorado School of Mines or something,
just know I'm leaving.
I'm happy. I'm 100%. As soon as I'm done, I'm out of here. I don't need that, and I was explaining that like passing the CWI exam is kind of, it's the equivalency of our bar exam. They understood the legal side of it. Like, oh, the paralegal department's got to pass a bar exam. Okay. There's 1.4 million lawyers in the US this year alone. In the last 50 years, there's been 100,000 people to get this cert. Which one do you think was harder to do? Oh, I really don't understand what that means. I know. It's the bar exam for welders is really what it's,
That's a lot of administrators don't get that. They don't understand how tough it is. They're like, oh yeah, we'll just send this guy to school and he'll come back with a CWI. It's like, No, it's not like an OSHA 10. It's not a participation trophy. You have no idea like what's involved with this thing. And that's kind of what I've equated it to is it's the bar exam for welders. When I talk to administration, like you need to send your best and brightest, and they need to study well before they get there because they have field experience, which is great. It's going to help them along their path. However, once you start getting into that technical stuff, like even with standard terms and definitions, like if that's one of the answers that's provided to you on that exam, do not pick any jargon. It's not stick welding. Don't pick that answer. That's not happening. It's not MIG. It's shielded metal arc welding, gas metal arc welding. There's very technical terms.
It's not gaps and lands. Are you sure about that?
I'm virtually certain. But I mean, that's what a lot of people don't understand. And like, so I kind of did the same thing with my CWI when I started out, was certifying welders and, doing, but I started doing additional continuing education. And I think that's where a lot of welders fail and a lot of inspectors fail. Maybe not so much inspectors because they have to maintain a certain amount of PDH hours, to validate their cert every 3, 6, 9 years. But a lot of welders, once they top out of welding school, once they graduate welding school, they're done learning. Unless if it doesn't happen on the job site, it's not getting learned. It's not getting committed to memory. But that's one thing I've done, since going through, becoming an educator. And I think had I not got into education, I wouldn't have understood the value of continuing education as a welder. So do you do like additional, not just to maintain your cert, but do you go out to like educator workshops, or I know you participate in your section meetings, so you guys are probably doing technical demonstrations and stuff like that, but do you do additional training and stuff throughout the year?
Whenever it's available.
Okay.
Whether, and whenever it's available, because you don't realize how much stuff ties together.
Mm-hmm.
If another section's got a metallurgy, Walt Spurko's coming to talk about metallurgy, like, hey, let's
take that,
let's sign into this, or if, we're hosting, one of our other sections will host a guest speaker or something. You're like, well, yeah. When the one I've really enjoyed being able to do is some of those, obviously with the last couple of years being everything moving online, is I've really enjoyed being able to do some of the Zoom stuff in the classroom where you're like, hey guys, I'm going to bring this up on the projector. If you want to go weld and you don't care about it at all, that's fine. I need to be here for this, I'll check in on you. But if you want, or if it's at night, I'll be like, hey, I'm going to host a watch party. You don't need, you're a student, you don't need PDH hours, but I'll order a couple of pizzas and put it on the big screen, and we can sit here together and learn, and you can ask questions. And that has been really rewarding both for me and for the students to be like, oh, this is that next level stuff. And you're like, well, not really, but from where you are, yeah, this is the next level stuff. Huh. Is this kind of like that? Yeah. And you're getting to see where the things you've taught are sinking in. So they're asking much better questions. They might not fully understand it, but at least they're like, it's not totally a foreign language. They can understand what's going on. Let's see, been to Hobart for a couple of the trainings. I want to get up to one of the trainings at Lincoln, especially with that new facility they built a couple years ago. I haven't been able to get up there. Working with the different engineers that we get to be around and some of that. I know Miller was supposed to bring theirs back, which I was kind of hoping for, because, I can go home for that one.
They're doing one this year. Dang it. Hold on. When is, they're doing an educator workshop up in Appleton, Wisconsin at Miller, June 11th through the 13th. It's the ITW Welding Instructor Conference, June 11th to the 13th. I'll see if I can find that email. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it. I was like, damn it. Now, I've always wanted to go to Miller to go check out their school. Like, I've never had a chance to go up there. They've never really done anything. I've been to Lincoln's class or their school because they do different classes, I don't know, 10, 12 times. So I've been to Cleveland a bunch, but Miller never really had anything. But now they've got that ITW conference going on. So a bunch of my buddies are going up to that one because it's my buddy Travis Jumper. He's relatively close. My buddy Jeremy Whittemore, I think he's going to it. Stephanie Hoffman may be up there because she's working with Miller now. But I was like, dang it, man, that'd be one that I'd really like to go to. But this year I'm trying to keep travel to a bare minimum just because we opened up the new school in July and then we just became an ATF in March. And I've been getting phone calls and emails off the hook and like trying to balance everything. I just don't have the time to travel right now.
And you traveled a lot last year.
Last year I traveled a lot. It was too much.
Mine is that's back in my stomping ground. So I can, room and board's covered. I just go visit mom and dad, get a Friday night fish fry and drink a couple of brandy old fashions.
There you go.
Show up. Oh, I'm here again.
And they got Spotted Cow in Wisconsin too.
They do have Spotted Cow.
That is a good beer.
They have Spotted Cow. They've got some Leinenkugels that you can't get anywhere else. When I first moved to, it's kind of funny when I first moved to Tennessee, right? You're like, hey, where can I get like a bar burger? What do you mean a bar burger? Like, greasy bar burger, There's a Cheddar's. Not what I was thinking. Come to find out they had a 2-drink maximum. And I'm like, yeah, the comedy club has a 2-drink minimum. We're not at the same, we're not at the same capacity here.
We're not the same people.
Yeah, it's not quite what I was talking about. Like I just want a greasy bar burger. Yeah, Wisconsin's a little bit different. A lot of people down here. I'd love to take them back up there to go ice fishing.
I'd be down for that.
Ice fishing.
I've never been ice fishing. I'd be down for that.
Go ice fishing, right? Go to the bar, not get drunk, but go to a bar maybe and get a Uber ride back to the hotel or get like a big Airbnb. Like actually make a trip of it. Get a dozen guys together. Go ice fishing. Try a bunch of, eat all the cheese you could possibly imagine. Cheese curds.
You guys got the squeaky cheese.
We get the good squeaky cheese.
I love the squeaky cheese.
And a whole variety of squeaky cheese nonetheless. I moved down here and they're like, yeah, we got a big microbrew scene. And I'm like, really? Tell me about the micro. Yeah, we got there's 6 microbrews now. And I'm like, have you heard of Milwaukee? Like every bar and restaurant has their own microbrew in back. Oh, that's not the same. No,
it's not the same. Come from a different cloth.
Yeah, it's cute. Yeah, that's cute. So there's parts that you miss from back home because you can't get them anywhere else, and then there's experiences as you get to go everywhere else. That'd be another one I'd encourage everybody to do is travel.
Yeah,
go somewhere, both in the U.S. and out of the U.S. There's just the rest of everything around. People don't want to travel. They don't want to go anywhere. They want to be comfortable at home. Well, go experience them. An 8-hour car ride in any direction will put you in an entire different environment.
Oh yeah.
I'm sitting here in Knoxville. I'm 12 hours from half the country in any given direction. I can be at the beach in Florida, or I can be freezing in Minnesota in 12 hours. Like, you don't really understand it until you've walked into negative 40 or 50 degree weather with a wind chill that brings it down to like negative 70, and your lungs crystallize from trying to go get the mail. I don't miss snow blowing though. I will say that we got like 8 inches of I think we got about 10 or 12 inches of snow this winter, which is totally unheard of for this area. It shut everything down for like 3 weeks. I think there's 2 snow plows, one for the highway and one at the airport.
Oh, damn.
But like everything was shut down, and you're going, well, that was like, I'll let you be 20 minutes too late to work. That was normal. Last weekend, mom sent a picture of, we got another 9 inches over the weekend. Like, it's April. I don't miss that.
Yeah. Right. No, man. No, but there's, I would also say, because I don't know how close you are, but, Real Educational, they do a practical applications class for CWIs. That's another one I want to get up to. That's in Ellijay, Georgia. So they take you through the whole process from soup to nuts to, here's the base metal. We got to weld it together. Let's develop a procedure, figure out the filler metal, figure out code requirements, weld the whole thing up, and then cut it, bend it, or X-ray, or, whatever. They take you through the whole thing from beginning to end. Develop the PQR, the WPS, do the destructive testing, make the weldment, obviously, that's part of it. But that'd be a good one too. And then have you been to the Instructors Institute with AWS?
I have not.
Oh, you need to jump on that, and you're active with your section.
At our district conference last year, they were talking about who's in line to go to the next one.
You need to sign up for that one.
I think I'm like 2 years out because there's like other people in line, and you're like, I'd really like to go check that out.
Make sure you apply, because if whoever doesn't apply, if they get nominated, they're not a shoe-in. You got to apply, and you also have to get nominated. So my buddy Juan Ayala, he applied. I told him like 2-3 months in advance before district conference. I was like, apply for that. And then I put him in and nominated him, and he got to go this year. But it took me, I think, 2 to 3 years of nominating him, writing him letters of recommendation, to our section or to our district to get him to go. But it's definitely worth it. Doc Plannon runs that class as well. Him and Jay Jones with Harris Corp. Yeah, it's an awesome class.
Doc's on the committee for this Magic Welded grant.
Yep.
And it was
he's been big with Welded for a while.
The last meeting that we had, I was actually issuing a test to my students while I was jumping on the Zoom call. So as soon as I came on camera, it's like, oh, hey Adam, what's going on? And several of the engineer folks were kind of like, not only do you know each other, but you know each other on like a first name basis. He just came on camera like, well, yeah, he's been through the section. I've seen him at Skills Nationals, a bunch of presentations. That's a wealth of knowledge walking around right there.
Oh yeah, Doc's brilliant,
right?
He's so down to earth too. Yeah. I love hanging out with him. I got to chill with him in Houston last year for the inspectors conference down there in Houston, the IEC.
I think somebody was trying to get me to get down there, but it was like the first week of our semester.
Oh, you should have went. You should have sick leave or like PTO or any of that. You should have went. That was great. It was a good time.
Oh, it was like the very first week of semester. I'm like, I don't know if I could miss the entire first week of the semester.
Oh, sure you can. You got 2 years to make it up.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. Good luck, guys.
No, there's a bunch of different things you can get into. I mean, especially whether you're looking for PDHs or just additional information and stuff. A lot of different classes you can take. I want to link back up with Ryan. We were talking about that before we got on the podcast. Ryan used to do his educator workshop every year. Last one he did was in Orlando. But I think, so my buddy Kyle Linko, like I've not heard from him in a while. I need to check back in with him. But he stepped out of the classroom and became a director. So I think that might have been the disconnect because Ryan and Kyle, they were running those programs together. And I think with the additional duties and responsibilities that Kyle picked up with that new title,
adulting.
Yeah, much more adulting. Because they took him out of the playground, which was the welding lab, and they put him into the timeout box, which is administration.
He drank that juice.
Yeah, but he did it for all the right reasons because he could make more of an impact taking that administrative route and making sure that the program prospered in his absence. And I think it was what was best for that program at the time. But I think the additional obligations that he incurred with that, they weren't able to do the instructors conference or the instructors workshop this year or last year. So I got to get with them because I mean, if Kyle's not able to do it, I could definitely help Ryan out probably next year. Not this year's not looking so great, but maybe like June, July, August next year, that could be a possibility. And if we could do it up at your school, that'd be great.
I mean, we're a 12-hour drive. We've got, the Gatlinburg and Dollywood and Pigeon Forge and Chattanooga, Knoxville, Nashville, I mean, everything once you're here is relatively close.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we've got facilities to host stuff and,
Have you ever linked up with Gerald Austin? I think he's in your area.
He's about an hour and a half from me.
Yeah, that's not too far.
Yeah, he's, I want to say maybe an hour. He was helping us set up when we were going for the ATF stuff. It just turned out to be not what we needed at the time, I guess. Like we had a grant to do it and we had pursued it. And then it was like, all right, so this will be great. We can charge the students, $300 and then we can make money. And I'm like, I'm not
That's not why you need to do it. Yeah.
I'm not charging students $300 to $400 for something that, like, as an inspector, your cert is about as good as the paper it's printed on, right? Here's your weld test. Show me what you, obviously it helps you get your foot in the door. Everywhere you go, though, is going to say, here, cool. Our procedure's this. Here's your weld test. But I passed one. Cool. Then you should have no problem.
You shouldn't have any problem doing this one.
And so I couldn't look at, a student that's, already not financially well off and be like, hey, you need a flux core test, a 3G, 4G test. You need stick. You need to do this. Okay. Well, so only $1,200 more. What? Oh, and everywhere you go is going to tell you,
you're gonna have to
we don't really need that here. We don't accept that particular test. You're going to have to do it again. And I was just like, I can't. And so, I understand other areas and other disciplines it's really taken off extremely well. But just in this particular area, it's weird coming out of the north, right? Where, you can drive for miles and still see the same manufacturing plant.
Yeah.
Manufacturing is just different up there. And then you come down here and it's a lot of mom and pop shops, 50 welders max, not 500 welders per shift. Like, it's different, we got a crew of 4 guys
in your area, isn't it?
The state has done, the entire Southeast region, basically from the Mason-Dixon to the Mississippi, has done an amazing job across Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, the Carolinas, down into Florida. They've all done a great job of trying to draw manufacturing back to this area. The problem that I've got with it is they're trying to rape the labor pool. When Oshkosh Truck first moved into the area, you could have a job in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, because I had friends in Oshkosh, Wisconsin as a welder making $10 more an hour, 12 hours north. Wait,
so now they're taking advantage of the general population.
Yeah. And, and then some of them are promised, not them particularly, but some of them get promised like, oh, we've got all these tax incentives and we've got this credit. And then they get there and they're like, the labor, you've guaranteed that labor force, but you've guaranteed it to 2 or 3 companies. Oh, well, yes, the labor's here, but there was 100 welders. There's not 300 welders. 3 companies moved in. Each company was told there's 100 welders. They all thought there was 100 welders for each one of them.
Each one, yeah.
And so now it became a financial game. Like, well, we'll pay $1 more. We'll pay 50 cents more. We'll pay a shift differential. We'll pay a little bit better than this. But then they were running into, the lack of educated skilled trade to say, oh, hey, we're running pulse. What's that? I've never heard of that. We have the good gas. We've got 75-25. You mean from straight CO2? Yeah, it's a good gas. Okay. So let's make some improvements, guys. Let's get started somewhere. But it's been encouraging to see the amount of reshoring, nationally reshoring, like bringing everything back to the U.S. and the spike in people that want to work with their hands. People, they want to get dirty. They want to. I don't want to stare at a computer screen. I want to sit on a Zoom. I want to go build something. I played with Legos as a kid.
Yep.
I play with Legos as an adult a lot more because now I got adult money. I can buy cooler Legos.
Right.
But that's what stemmed the inspiration to get into building stuff. And then they went to mechanical engineering school and then they never built anything other than some prints. So somebody else could build something and argue that their print sucks.
Well, they don't know welding symbols.
Yeah. They don't know welding symbols
or weld symbols,
or weld symbols. If you don't know what the weld symbols, just go ahead and leave it off the print, leave it welder discretion.
There you go.
I'll take care of you. I got you covered.
I'll hook you up, bro.
Why is there ISO weld symbols on a SI print with what is this? Oh, that's a shop symbol. I've never seen that symbol before.
They get creative.
I've got one. I'll show you later. That's a shop symbol it was pretty good.
Okay. They're releasing that new welding symbols manual this year. I think it's getting ready to go to print as of now. Because they're releasing A 2.0 and A 2.4 and A 3.0.
Yes.
I know they're coming out with new standard terms and definitions, and then they're coming out with a brand new welding symbols manual.
It's about time.
Yep.
But, you know, that's you asked about the CWI stuff. That's where it comes back to, like, you know, people look at you as the knowledgeable individual. So when they do have a question, they're like, well, who can I call? Well, I know that guy is at least supposed to understand what goes into this. I'm going to call him. And there's several companies around that consult with that stuff as well. Like, hey, we're not really sure what this symbol means. Okay, well, that's actually an ISO print. What does that mean? Well, that means you should start by making sure that it's not in first angle projection, because everything you're building is backwards. What?
Yep.
Oh, no wonder we could get 2 of the views, but we could never get to the third one.
Well, that all rolls back to experience.
You made scrap. But, you know, somebody has to know. At least know that I don't know why are there dashy lines with this under the line? There's more dashy lines. I don't understand what this is going on here. Who can I ask? I don't know. I've been welding for 20 years. I've never seen one of them. Yeah, just weld it up. It's supposed to be welded on the inside, not the outside.
Well, that's the biggest thing, is like knowing who to call and developing your network. Like, I'm huge on mentorship and networking. I mean, that's how I got where I'm at today. That's how I know so much stuff when it comes to welding, is mentorship. I know who to call. I read something in the code book and it's like, that's really not jiving with, you know, what's going on in my gray matter. I know who to call.
Let me ask that person.
Yeah.
You know, that's the what is it? Making your impact or improving your impact?
Yep. Increasing your impact.
Yeah, increase your impact. Mentorship.
Yep.
You know what?
It's huge.
You know, could take somebody under your wing, and that's part of the problem. Is I think for a while we got kind of greedy with stuff, where when you took a step up the rung on the ladder, you were supposed to reach your hand back and pull the next person up.
Yep.
You didn't climb up that rung by yourself. Yeah, impressive. Sure. I created a welding program. I didn't do it by myself. I had a bunch of adjunct instructors that helped me get it off the ground. You know, I surrounded myself with good people, and good people made good decisions, and good decisions led to more good decisions, and asked better questions. And that's, you know, when you step up, whenever you get the opportunity to climb the next rung on the ladder, don't forget to stick your hand down and help the next guy up the ladder, because that's how we all get ahead. That's why we do the teaching stuff.
Yeah.
I'd easily double my income to go back into industry without batting an eye. On Monday morning, I can have a job in industry making more than I do now. But that's not why you're doing it.
Right.
You're doing it to see that impact. You're doing it to better the whole community. I was talking to one of the waitress the other day, and I said, you know, the thing is, you get into a welding you know, like, why do you do teaching? And I'm like, well, look at it this way. I teach welding. Welders make good money. After they have some experience, it's one of the lies we teach. Oh, you're going to make all this money. Well, not right away. And I think a lot of people quit before they actually cross that hurdle. You know, they look at the short term. I can go over to Buc-ee's and be a cashier and make $21 an hour. Cool. But that's the top that you're ever going to make at Buc-ee's.
You're not going further than that.
Oh, well, I mean,
you go to night shift manager, it's like 23.
Yeah. I mean, if they made it up to like store manager, it's a $250,000 a year job, but you're going to have to be there for a long time at $21 an hour before you get to. And so it's like, yeah, they can go out and make money, and they make more money on overtime. And now they have more disposable income. And now they have disposable income, which means they can go out to eat, and they can go out to eat at a nicer restaurant. And then they can leave a bigger tip. And then they can get new tires on their truck. And because they could get new tires on their truck, the guy that owns the auto parts store could support the, you know, Pop Warner football, you know, continue to support that. Like, it's not just that you improved, it's everyone around the entire community moved forward. That's, you know, that's why you're doing it.
Yeah, you can help more people.
Move everybody forward.
Yeah, you can help more people.
Not just welders.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of goal at the end of the day. Like, that's always been my thing, is I enjoy helping people. I like to help people.
Otherwise you wouldn't do it,
No.
because you'd make a lot more money just picking up the tools and getting back to work.
Oh yeah, we used to do like plant tours all the time. I would tell my students like, here, let me show you where you're going to apply these skills at. Cause they didn't know, like they come in and they're like, oh yeah, I want to be a welder. Okay. What do you want to weld? I don't know. Well, cool. Let me go show you some of the stuff where welds, happen. Let me show you welds in their natural environment. So we go to a pipe welding shop, we go to an ironworker shop, we go to a structural steel shop or, fabrication, ornamental job shops. Like we'd go to all these different places. Every time I took the students in there, like the manager or the owner, they'd walk down to the shop floor and be like, hey, if you're ever looking to get back into industry, just give me a call. And I'd get a business card with a salary on the back. And it's like,
every time.
Oh, I don't know if I'm going to show up to work on Monday. But then I'd show up because you've got a bigger impact educating the next generation. And there's just something that you can't put a price tag on that.
Well, you kind of can.
I mean, you can. I mean, everybody's got a price. Everybody's got a price. But
I'll say I don't understand stealing stuff. I don't understand. I understand Enron. $300 million to a non-extradition country. You can fly down and visit me on the beach.
Yeah.
There's parts where you're like, I don't get it. And then there's other parts where like, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah, the math works.
Well, it's and some of that has to be like, well, your own family, like, cool, but you got to move yourself and your family forward as well. So, take it for what that is.
Yeah. There's a way to do both. Side work.
Exactly. That's what summertime is for.
Yep. There's your June and July.
Go knock out go knock out a set of handrails. Go make something for somebody. Solve somebody's problem. And sometimes I don't mind solving the problems where it's like, nobody wants to weld lawnmower decks, right? I don't want to be the lawnmower deck repair guy. I kind of hate doing lawnmower decks, but I don't mind doing a lawnmower deck. If it's a Friday afternoon and somebody's got a lawnmower deck and I go, I tell you what, I can really go for a cold beer. I don't want to buy the cold beer. You bring me that lawnmower deck right now with a 6-pack and I'll go ahead and turn the machine on and burn it in for you. Are you serious? What kind of beer? Cold.
Cold, wet, carbonated.
Cold, cold. You're not kidding. No, I don't want to do it every day. I don't want to do dumpster repairs on a daily basis.
Not for a 6-pack.
For a 6-pack. But there's other times where you're like, the one that I run into is some of the specialized stuff, and there's nobody else to do it. And they're like, I've called all these places. They're booked out 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 months. It's too small of a job. There's, the minimum isn't worth it. You're like, I've already got the machines out. Everything's turned on. Yeah. If you can swing it by while I'm doing this other thing, I can take care of that. That's a little bit of extra.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little extra to keep up on your skill set, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, every little bit helps.
It's really just to buy more toys.
Yes.
In the end,
my side work supports my tool addiction.
Only reason we're doing this is because, we got older, our toy box got bigger, and our toys got more expensive.
That's a fact.
I want a bigger toolbox. I want more tools in it. I want old tools and new tools. Man, did you see that new Milwaukee they're coming? I did. I might have to get me one of those. I want a motorcycle. I want a different motorcycle. I want a faster motorcycle. I want a boat. Oh, well, that, you can go out and catch fish in a John boat, but fiberglass, Nitro, Skeeter, Ranger, whatever, that's a little bit nicer. But it's got to have a bigger motor on it.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's got to have electronics. And then because you bought a boat, now you got to buy a new fishing pole. Well, now you bought a new fishing pole, you got to buy another fishing pole. Well, you might have somebody come with you. You need another fishing. Well, now I need more lures, right? I got to have a whole pile of lures.
Tackle box now.
I got to get it. Well, now I got to get better. Well, okay. Which hobby are we going to support this week?
That's my problem is I collect hobbies. And I don't just collect random. It's like I collect the most expensive hobbies, and I got to buy the most expensive shit when I start off the hobby.
Well, I think that's because we're in welding. We don't, welding is not a cheap hobby.
It's not.
And I think that's, people need to realize that it's expensive to do. It takes a long time. Pay me for my skill. But then because we are in an expensive hobby, we like other expensive hobbies. Hey, you want to go scuba diving? We should go scuba diving.
Yeah.
Scuba stuff's expensive.
It is.
but this is fun. We get to go look at fish. We can touch them.
I can breathe underwater. How cool is that?
Yeah, I can breathe. Oh, this is really cool. I want to touch fish. You want to do that? Oh, well, we can't just do that.
Can't do it in Cocoa. You got to go to Jamaica.
Yeah.
No, I've been there.
The local pond? No, let's go overseas.
Yeah, I've been there. I've done that. I know. I need to get my. I need to restart with my scuba. I need the refresher course. It's been. I think the last time I went was 2008, and I went to Jamaica.
Oh, you need to get back on the water.
I know. I need to. It's been a minute, and I had a buddy, but like because of the amount of work that I was putting in, because I was working for the college, and then I was doing side work on top of that, and then I was doing the podcast on top of that, and it was like, I don't have the time to go for the refresher course, and then a weekend dive. I got to take off at like 0 dark 30 on a Friday, to make it there for Saturday morning and all that stuff. So like, I just got to plan it out a little bit better. But I do want to get back into scuba diving, but I don't want to buy a new BC and the latest dive watch. And, my mask is still good from, way back in the day. My mask and snorkel.
Yeah, but this got new colors.
No, well, they do.
So I probably should.
Yeah, I should. And then I need new fins. Like that was the thing. My wife and I, we just did spring break with the kids. So I took all my dive shit back out because we hit up the local spring. And I checked my mask and I was like, damn, this still works. And like my dive booties and all that stuff. And I was like, Evo made some good shit back in the day. And like, here we are, damn near 20 years later. This stuff's it's still like in good condition, and I've not taken care of it the way I should. But they don't make stuff like that, like they used to. No, it's all planned obsolescence.
I mean, why do you think your new welder fails? Oh, it's always a circuit board.
Gotta get a new one.
So it's really rare that the circuit board. The only thing that fails on new welders is the circuit board. And it's always $2,000.
That's the only thing a welding machine is. It's a circuit board and lugs and a gas port and a solenoid.
It's like owning a diesel truck, right? It's $800 or $2,800 every time it goes in the shop.
Yep.
There's no in between. It's $800 or $2,800. Which one are you going to pay for? So then we're talking about buying toys, and now you buy tools. Well, each trade has its own specialty set of tools, right? You're going to do ironwork, you need a certain set of tools. You're going to do pipeline, you need a certain set of tools. You're going to need stainless. Now I need purge blocks, and now I need a TIG machine. Well, now I need a new TIG torch. Well, now I need a flex head TIG torch. Now I need a flex lock TIG torch. Well, now I want a water cooled setup. Oh, now I need a new machine because it's got the water cooler built into it. Well, now that I'm doing that, I need some cups, but I can't just get any cups.
No, you got to get Pyrex cups.
A whole assortment of I got to have Pyrex cups. And then you think about it, and I've got a Tigware 32 for doing some titanium work. It flows between 65 and 80 CFH.
Oh, now I need drag.
You basically don't. Yeah, you don't even need a regulator. You just like every time you hit the pedal, you watch the gauge just drop in the tank, and it's like, oh, but I can run 7 full inches of stick out. I could just put the tungsten barely into the collet and be like, oh, the rest of it's fine. It's all shielded. Oh, well, why do you have that? Well, because we're going to go play with this stuff and it's going to take a little bit more. Oh, well, yeah. Oh, now you're going to both blow through a 300 of argon in like an hour because your pre-flow and post-flow was cranked way up. Oh, well, we had to get the toys out to make this repair, but we have to have these other toys, and that led to more toys and more. And that's all we want.
I need a bigger truck to haul all this shit.
Exactly. We want cooler toys to play with.
It's a vicious cycle.
And in the end, all we're doing is solving people's problems. I think that's the worst part with people that want to be a welder is they don't understand that welding is just like such a little. I went, like I said earlier, I went and installed a handrail. I burned 5 stick rods. Wanted to tack everything in and, 1 rod on each base plate. But it took 3 hours, 4 hours. Your layout and your measurement and your squaring and your drilling and, cleaning out your holes and then doing that. Like, oh, the welding part was, it helped me do that. But it was only a part of that.
Yeah, that's the part that sucks. It takes me like 2-3 hours to get set up and 10 minutes to do the work. Yeah. Then I got to break all that shit back down.
And then you got to pack it all back up and take it all back home and put it all away again. Yep. Because the very next job is absolutely something totally different.
Yeah, and the customer doesn't want to pay because they're like, that only took you 10 minutes. You didn't see all the stuff that went in the prep and the breakdown and all the other
You didn't
fun
even
stuff
know what
that
all
goes.
those tools cost.
Exactly.
You didn't even know what those tools cost just so that I could come do that 10 minutes worth of work.
Yeah, that's like the customer that wants to like nickel and dime you over everything. You're like, well, you could do it. Yeah, you could do it yourself if you watch the YouTube video. Well, I don't have the tools. Okay, well, I'll loan you the tools for $900. Okay, cool. Now, I'm still saving money. Well, shit, now I don't know how to do the work. Okay, I'll train you for like $700. Okay, cool. So I'm still saving $300. Oh man, this stuff's a lot harder than I thought. Can you just do the work? Yeah, I could have done it the first time if you just paid me my rates.
Now I have to grind out everything you did so I can do it right.
Oh, that's even worse. I love charging people more for going back and reworking all the stuff that they screwed up.
Coming out of the dairyland in farm country, right? We had farms, 1,000 head of cattle or milking cows. And one of the ongoing jokes was, you know what the difference between a welder and a farmer is? A welder doesn't think he can farm.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, well, his weld didn't crack. Well, it cracked in the heat affected zone. Well, what does that mean? I just need it fixed. Well, it means that the giant glob, the bigger the glob, the better the job. Not necessarily. Now we got to take all that out so we can start over. Should have done it right the first time.
Yep. It's 300% more to do rework.
We talked about the fillet weld gauges. I think it's, what was it? If you put a 5/16 weld where a 3/16 weld was called for, you've doubled the price of the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the moron theory.
Well, moron.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's another class you got to take is with because you're not too far from Atlanta.
No.
Charlie Cross and Padraig Bean. I don't know if they're still doing it in Atlanta, but they did a welding procedure development class. WPS class. Check Lincoln's website. That is an awesome class. I went up to that one a couple years ago.
I'm gonna write that one down. I think I'm up for my 9-year.
Oh, you know what you need to do? You know what you should do if you're up for your 9-year? If you don't have all your hours, take the WPQ1, Welder Performance Qualifier exam. And I think they've changed it. I don't think it's called WPQ1 anymore. I think it's just called WPQ. But it's the Welder Performance Qualifier. And I think the class that I took was 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays from like 4 to 6 or no, it might have been noon to 4. It's like 2 days a week for 4 weeks. Okay. And then you take the Welder Performance Qualifier exam. And I think it's a 3-hour test. You go across B2.1 and there's a couple other documents in there. I think Part A is in there from your CWI. But I was done with that class I was done with the test in well under 3 hours. And that satisfies the requirements of your 9-year. And it's all about testing welders.
I'm sure I've got my hours in, but
never hurts.
Want to learn?
Yeah,
I want to learn.
Doesn't hurt.
I want to learn. I want to be, just immerse yourself with other people that are into this. They're excited about the same thing. You're surrounded by people that like the same things that you like.
Surround yourself with the weld nerds.
Yeah.
Well, Adam, I've really enjoyed you coming out on the podcast. It's like I said, it's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to chat with you for a while. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your evening. I know we've been going on for almost 3.5 hours now. I might have to split this up into 2 episodes.
We've got a lot to say. It's all right.
Oh yeah, we might have to do a part 3.
We can anytime.
Okay, and definitely, like, are you coming down to FabTech this year? Do you do FabTech at all?
I've been going to. So when FabTech was in Atlanta, it was really easy for me to. I would usually go down for 2 days, and then I would come back and take a bunch of students down.
Okay.
Because it was only a 3-hour. I could make the drive down, get them the experience. We take 3-4 events, take 50 kids down and let them run around and see what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I got started in Chicago 20 years ago. Yeah, it's been a long time. I'm trying to get to Orlando this year, right? It's in Orlando.
Yeah, you should do that. And then you can bring the students down. You guys can go inspect all the welds at the theme parks.
No, I don't want to. It's like Chicago. So
Okay.
I told my students I'm not taking them to Chicago. I will see them in Chicago, but I don't want to be responsible for them.
That's what I always did. Like, you guys can go and I'll give you credit.
Yeah.
If you go. If you don't go, I'll leave you some assignments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be responsible for you. Like
I'm
14 of them got an
responsible for
Airbnb.
myself at 15.
I don't want, because then it's a school sponsored trip and you got to pay the school rules, and you're like, no, you guys should go and we'll talk to each other while we're there, but it's not official.
Yeah. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
So I'm going to encourage a bunch of them to go down and check it out.
Yeah, let me know if you make it down.
Several have already said they want to go, so
no, that'd be a good time.
Check it out.
Yeah.
I want to see your school. I want to, see what you got going on. And I know you were talking about hosting some kind of a meet and greet or event, or just open the doors and let people, go start things on fire.
Yeah, I'm planning something out now. I got plenty of fire extinguishers, so we should be good.
It's all metal. It's not, it's not going to burn.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Anywhere if you want people to find you, where can they find Adam?
Most of my stuff's all on Instagram. It's at AK Stretch, AKSTREICH. That's where I keep everything's all welding related there, or LinkedIn, Adam Stretch. My Facebook's, that's grandma and grandpa and aunt and uncle things.
Right.
And, yeah. But that's the easiest place to find me. Otherwise, I'm at Pellissippi State Community College's welding program in Knoxville, Tennessee. If anybody wants to, if you're swinging through Knoxville and you want to see what we've got going on, by all means, open invitation. So check it out and see what's going on.
Yeah. Well, great. Hopefully I make it up that way one day.
Someday you'll be passing through, or we'll meet somewhere in Georgia, because it's about halfway for both of us.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. Check out the Excel mentoring competition. They do it in October in Dallas, Georgia every year. Last year I wasn't able to participate. I had a conflicting event. I think I was either in Canada, Pennsylvania, Ohio, or Texas when they were doing it last time. one of those locations.
Traveling somewhere for something.
For right. This year I might be able to make it though. We'll see. All right. Well, Adam, again, thank you so much for coming on.
Jason, thanks for having me.
All right, ladies and gents, thanks so much for checking out this week's episode of the podcast. I hope you all have a kick-ass week. Stay safe out there, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.